true. Oh, far out. Next time. Hell yeah. Oh, this is on. Whoops. Cool. So I'll be sitting here, and then yeah, you guys can start tuning up. There's water in here. We have 4 mics, and we're just waiting for one more person. I'm just trying to share this around, and you guys can one, maybe and then I'll pass one to Fernanda, who's going to be the next.
Cool.
Sweet. So yeah. Did you all get the question?
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Sorry for the lateness. Oh my god. Woo. All right. So that's there. Just gonna put this in. Wrong one. This is so cool. Yeah.
That's cool.
Now we turn it on. Awesome. So this is for Fernanda here, just because Spanish is, well, English is her first language, so I'm just going to yeah, anyone, yeah. Oh, and I think there is an extra food chair, so we can.
Oh, okay, cool. I think because there's one more person.
Yeah. Perfect. Ooh. Probably move over, actually.
Yeah, you feel very far away.
Yes. So we probably start like 1:05, 1:10, just like people come. And we do have a live stream on the way. Yesterday, the audio wasn't working for some reason. And it was like this weird computer quirk that we have sorted. So it's live streaming and also recording. Not the best quality, but it's something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're out there. We don't really promote them too much, which we should, but yeah. Yes, the archiving.
What's the channel name?
Just Auckland Zinefest YouTube. We'll probably share it with you later. So
Is the event?
sorry. Yes, we'll live stream that. Ooh, we got water here.
Yeah.
Is it okay with us this time? With the mic? With the volunteer?
Yeah, it's okay. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone.
Hello, hello. Hello? Hello, hello. Hello, testing. Luca, can you hear me? Cool. Okay. Photo. Just a little hello. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1, cheese. Cheese. 3, 2, 1. Yay, thank you. The projection is kind of like. Yeah, that's cool. Sweet. Coffee. ¿Puedes hablar en inglés? Y puedo como traducirte un poco de aquí. Porque mi español no es tan excelente como que... ¿No? En realidad nada. Ah, ok. Sí, entonces por español.
Y cortito.
Sí, corto. Sí, sí. Si habla en español te lo puedo como traducir en inglés y porque como yo entiendo cómo se hacen los zines y eso, puedo entenderlo más. Sí, los conceptos, cómo imprimir y eso, entonces como puedo, sí, entenderlo un poco.
Tratar de ser muy precisa.
¿Sí? Ok, buena. Pero está bien, sí. Lo bueno es que te tenemos aquí y sí, gracias por estar aquí.
Gracias por ayudarme.
Sí, por supuesto. Cool.
Honestly, when I applied to this job, I was like, there's so many tax stuff. I'm scared. It just gets so busy with this shit. Yeah. Oh, but I don't know. I'm sharing a room table today with people against prison sentences. It's gonna be really nice. It's just very like it's busy, but it's not like nice. Yeah.
Sí, sí.
sort of
Muchas
scanning
personas hablan bajo.
Sí.
this will feedback images and put onto the images with all the words and stuff.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming along. We're just going to wait a few more minutes and then we'll get started. Thanks for being here. Hope you've been enjoying the market and had a look around. But yeah, thank you. Speaking. When you're speaking, make sure.
Don't put it in your mouth, but yeah, go.
Gestures.
What do you guys think?
So, vamos a empezar con ellos y después a ti y de ahí estamos bien. No, vamos a empezar con unas preguntas como casual, sí, generales, short introduction, quién eres, tus pronouns, no sé cómo decir eso en español.
Tus pronombres.
Pronombres, ahí, buena.
Yeah, yeah.
Como empezaste con los zines, ¿qué te gusta de print, de imprimir?
Igual esta pregunta creo que se parece a una que está
Sí,
de por
ahí.
qué imprimimos, así que
Sí.
se va a repetir un poco la respuesta.
Bueno,
Pero
sí, está bien. Sí, corto. Sí, ese es como
Do
más
something for this and
en
then
general
nothing.
y este es como más como
enfocado en
sí,
Yeah.
de la
I got involved
fotografía,
in the
porque puedes como
last
muchas
year and this
personas
year, and so it's been really cool to be like
publican sus
behind the scenes
fotografías
and this year
online
actually being
en
in
vez
it
de
as well.
imprimirlo.
y los otros proyectos ninguno fotográfico.
No, algunos sí, pero
No, pero los que estamos conversando son
sí, unos tienen
ya.
fotografía, pero
No
otros
es
como
solo
son más
enfocado.
prácticos. Sí,
That's-
sí. Entonces
that's the
ellos
less fun
hacen como
stuff.
ilustraciones o literatura, cosas como así, pero ustedes son los únicos que tienen como
Solo
totalmente fotografía. Sí. Yeah. All right. Hello, everyone. All right. I think we'll get started with everything here. Thank you so much for coming along to Auckland Zinefest, day 2 at the Auckland Art Gallery, which has been really exciting. So I'll just start by introducing myself. I am Catalina. I'm one of the main organizers for Auckland Zinefest. And yeah, I'm here today with these lovely makers that are zine makers and also small press publishing houses that make really amazing things with print. So yeah, today's theme is just going to be about DIY printing. How do these makers get into it? How do they use what they have, or how do they get into printing? Because printing is really difficult, you know. It's more than just your office printer. It's so many techniques you can do at home and also with a community too. So yeah, thanks for being here. We'll just start off with introductions. So I'll just get everyone to just introduce themselves, say their pronouns, what collective you're from, and also, I guess, what you do in life in general. So just starting over here at the end.
Hello. Kia ora tātou. Achille here, he, him. I'm part of Five of the Books with Sasha. Very happy to be here. Thank you very much. And so what's the last?
Just what you do in
Oh,
life, I guess.
I'm very happy to be able to do Five Ever full time these days. Yeah, that's me. Thank you.
Awesome.
Kia ora, my name's Sasha. We are both from Te Whanganui Atara or Wellington. So we're both part of Five Ever Books. Yeah, we're a small little independent publishing house that publishes zines and books, and I guess we'll probably come to it, but we've got the means of production, so we're quite involved with the process. And yeah, I do a lot of Five Ever work, but also activism and art is kind of other things that I do with my time. Yeah, it's lovely to be here. Thank you for the invite.
Thanks for coming.
Kia ora. My name's Adrian. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm with In a Bind Bindery. I'm a student, a visual arts student up at AUT. That's really how I got into my printmaking and book binding as well.
Cool.
Kia ora, I'm Geneva, she, her. I'm a graphic designer, I guess. Like, I just finished my degree last year, so I'm looking for employment.
If anyone needs a designer.
Yeah, but graphic design is the main thing I do.
Cool.
Hi everyone, my name is Fernanda. Sorry, English speaker. I'm going to speak Spanish, but Catalina help me here.
Yes, I'm going to help Fernanda here just kind of translate her main answers through the talk. But yeah.
Thank you so much for the invitation. Yo pertenezco a Colectivo Narval. Somos un colectivo de fotografía chilena.
So she's part of a collective, a Chilean collective that works in photographic works based in Chile, but they go around all the world exhibiting. Cool. All right. So that is just an introduction. So we're going to start off with some questions and then just kind of discuss each maker's practice. First of all, just going around, maybe we can start with you, Fernanda. How did you get into zine making, into zines?
Nosotros comenzamos a hacer fanzines para difundir nuestro trabajo.
Oh, okay. So she said that they started doing fanzines to kind of exhibit their photographic work and just find a way to put it out in the world.
Yes, thank you.
Sweet. And what about you, Geneva? How did you get into zine making?
I guess like I first found out about zines in high school through like Rookie Mag.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know if people
Rookie?
still remember Rookie Mag.
Yes, iconic.
But so I've always been interested in print, and then like I've been coming to like the Zinefests, and so last year I like got my classmates together to set up a group stall, and so that
Cool.
was this first like proper like foray into zines.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool, that's awesome. And what about you, Adrian?
I found myself sort of getting into it in university, coming across the Zine club there. I already was interested in like visual arts and things and looking for ways to make it more accessible and I don't know, something that sort of gets out in the world a bit more.
Yeah.
And yeah, I came across the Zine club there and then got involved with Auckland Zinefest last year.
Yeah.
And yeah, just got sort of snowballed from there.
Cool. Great. And what about you two?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we probably both have personal stories because we were doing zines before we were together doing Five Ever. But I've been making, like I'm kind of a prolific, mad, kind of constantly creating sort of person. So there's often lots of content. So I like to, I've been making zines since like 2014 and was going to the Wellington Zinefests and organize my friends to make some collaborative zines, and then just really love it and quite involved in the Wellington Zinefest. Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, they're pretty big down there too, which is cool. Friends of ours, yeah. And what about you, Ashil?
I think I really started with letterpress because I know someone who's my partner who does letterpress, so I learned with her. And through kind of learning the making of small editions and small batches, more than just one art piece, then I slowly kind of drifted into an interest in small edition for like I guess activism and general kind of organizing and how there's a need for that. So I was like, oh, here's a role I can have. Yeah.
Cool. That's awesome. Sweet. So yeah, zine making is one thing. It can be digital, it can be print, collage, whatever. But you all have a really interesting approach to how you print your work. It's very kind of thoughtful and detailed and unique. So what made you all get into zining? Oh, to printing. Like, what do you love about print compared to digital works? Do you want to start?
I think, well, I don't love the digital world. I really don't. I find it that it just really kind of how do you say, hinders self-expression, and I think there's nothing like the relationship with the physical objects and the sharing of the object and the lifetime of the object, and also 100 zines, they just are biodegradable. Yeah,
Yes,
they
true.
just disappear with you or with the message when it stops being relevant. So I like
True.
that, the ephemeral. Yeah.
True, yes.
Yeah, printing. So I guess something that is really beautiful, I think, about printing is the creating, the material object. There's nothing quite like taking your words or your art and putting them into something and then holding it. And I really love sharing that experience with other people.
Yes.
But also just, the dissemination of things and having access to being able to, just put things out into the world. I think it's so empowering. So just, I guess that's kind of how I got to printing, was because I had some things and wanted to make a digital object, and I love sharing, I wanted to make a material object. And really love sharing that. But also, I guess Rebel Press is kind of part of the Rebel Press Collective, which is a anarchist printing collective based in Poneki. And so it was really actually through having access to the printer and the guillotine and the binder and all of those things that was a key component of like Five Ever's kind of beginnings.
Cool.
So yeah,
that makes sense. Wow. Yeah, so many entry points. Cool. And what about you, Adrian? What do you love about print?
Yeah, probably down the same vein. I really enjoy sort of being physically involved with the making of something. I feel sort of this connection that you don't really get beyond actually putting a pencil to the page or, etching it or whatever sort of medium you're using. And there's sort of like also a deeper answer of the queer experience being sort of being able to connect with your body and being like when I'm there like scrubbing away the ink that I've made a mess of and I'm getting sweaty and it's like, I'm really like involved in the object and the making. And it just feels very like you've put yourself into something, which I don't feel like I get when I'm just doing something digitally.
Yeah, it's really rewarding, I guess, right? Yeah, this is true. What about you, Geneva?
I guess similar to what everyone else has said, but like it's like the printing process as well, like how you can make something, but then if you use different processes to print it, it'll look completely different, and like how the process also adds to the work, like depending on the process as well. Like I guess if you did like linocut or like risograph or like all those different processes, and then how like the print in the end, like you don't see it, like sometimes like I guess if you do it handmade as well, it's like you can see some of the process in the final product.
Yeah, true. Cool. And what about you, Fernanda?
Para nosotros, volver al nacimiento de la fotografía, porque la fotografía nace como un objeto material.
True.
Entonces, es volver a tener el espacio de mirar una fotografía y que no quede en un espacio efímero como es en digital.
True. I just realized I'm like agreeing and you guys don't understand, but I will say that. So pretty much he said print is pretty much the birth of photography itself, and it is such an ephemeral process, photography, because you work with analog photograph. Yeah. Yes. So it's kind of just reconnecting to that, and it's just much more ephemeral than just digital photographs. Yeah.
Take the time of observe the picture.
Yeah, it's true, because you have to process it, print it, make sure the colors are right and all that. Yeah. Cool. Sweet. Well, yeah, print means a lot of different things to a lot of people, which is really cool. I personally love print. I just got a printer myself, which is cool. But I'm not as big as the likes of Five Ever Books. Boom, there they are. So, yeah, I found that by stalking you on Instagram, which is common these days. But I've only really known about Five Ever Books in the last maybe 6 months. It seems like you've kind of popped into the zine, small press scene in the last few years. I just want to know how and why did you start Five Ever Books?
Well, I guess we kind of, I suppose for us, we think about Five Ever as a tactic. It's sort of a way that we can do a number of things that address some of the concerns or the needs or of the community that we're a part of. And so I guess in 2020, just before the lockdowns started, Ashil and I, we kind of knew each other, but we weren't really friends, and we met and just kind of gelled immediately and just sort of started strategizing
Sweet.
things and basically realized that we could work together. And then in 2019, I'd published a book, which I guess, DIY printing, like that was sort of how one of the first books I made was my own work. And I just wanted to learn how to print it.
Right.
And then I didn't know at the time that it was really easy to get an ISBN, getting an imprint name.
True.
Like I alienated from that process. I didn't realize I could just basically apply. So I asked my friend who had an imprint name.
Yeah.
And at the time, the imprint name was Five Ever Dankley Florist. And so it was already kind of in the wheelhouse. And then, we just sort of got together. We had a couple of manuscripts.
Sweet.
And we launched in December 2020 with 5 abridged. So they were we had 5 full manuscripts or forthcoming works. And we had, in the short books, we had sections that were like 3 chapters or of that forthcoming work. And we've now published, I think, 2 or 3 of them in full text.
Cool.
And we're still working on some
That's
others.
awesome.
But
Yeah, and for those that don't know, ISBN numbers, they are used for archiving, so they can legitimize your zine or your publication.
It goes in the National Library.
Yeah, which is so cool. And then that's a digital footprint, I guess. Yeah.
But
Cool.
we've been, I guess, it's kind of a tactic in that, and I suppose this is kind of what we were sort of talking about on the messenger before. Our work is really all over the place insofar as, we do performance art, we do organizing public events, we do community organizing, we print books, we make zines, and a whole bunch of other things. So it's sort of like Five Ever was just something that brought joy into our lives as a survival tactic, basically, against nihilism and struggle.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's hard to beat nihilism. It really is. So, you guys started like that. That's really cool that you came together, managed to gel. And in this little island of Aotearoa, it's really hard to get all these kind of big printing machines, like the folding and there's so many machines. They're expensive, hard to find, and hard to maintain. So how did you manage to get access to great machinery? Was it with Rebel?
Yeah, so it was definitely through Rebel Press. And so I guess, in 2019, I sort of joined the collective. And in the past, Rebel Press had been itself an imprint, so they published books under Rebel Press. But around 2019, there were already a couple of smaller presses operating out of there, like Lawrence and Gibson, if you know of them.
Yeah.
And so, I learned how to make books with them and that process, and then was invited to join the collective. And I actually only recently learnt about the shift in the collective from being an imprint itself to being a collection of publishers around the time that I joined.
Right.
And so, Rebel Press is in Trades Hall in Wellington, and it's been going for about 15, 20 years.
Yeah,
So it's,
a long time.
a pretty established and amazing space, and my home now, or our home. But there's a printer, there's a guillotine, and there's a binder. And the one on the far end doesn't use power, so when we do the pop-up book factory, it's like a perfect binder. So we do, this random thing called the book factory, and that's what that is. But I guess it's amazing having those machinery, because they do enable us to do all of these beautiful things, but they're so temperamental, and they're also so just kind of sort of ad hoc, you want to get a page straight, sometimes you actually have to put it on a curve, so there's lots of yeah, so it's a little bit, yeah,
quirks
on the
with it.
piss.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, so having those machines is really amazing, and we try and get lots of different people from the community in to use them. So there are a couple of other presses that use them sometimes. Some zine makers use them, and then also we do, like notebooks for prisoners, which is kind of just a
Yes,
thing
yeah.
using recycled paper, and it's the machinery that enables us to do that because we
True.
can do the binding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys have done so many works in different kind of aspects. As you said, you're interdisciplinary, so you do performance art with your Zook factory. Is that what you call? So you can see here, it's a... Yeah, Ashil, would you be able to explain, I guess?
Sure. So
What it
there's
is?
kind of two things. Yeah. No, it's one big thing. So what you're looking at is the book factory that we do with Marcus McShane, who's a super cool friend, who used to invite artists to plug themselves to those two bags that you can see that generate power. So the idea is that like the artist has a self-contained studio with like two monkeys making the power for them. So in that case, we were the guests, and then we repeated that piece in quite a few number of places, in Nelson, in Wanaka, in Wellington a couple times. And so the idea is that it's a self-contained publishing house from start to finish.
Yeah.
And people join in and do exactly anything they want as part of the process of making the book. So they're content creators, but they're also editors, they're copywriters, or they just assemble the book, or they just bind the book. So everybody does something. And at the end of the day, there's a bunch of like books, unique books, they're all different, full of people's content. And it ranges from kids' drawings to very long handwritten pieces, to typewritten pieces, to maybe someone would send us a JPEG that we just print off the little printer that's still powered by the bike. So you have to, if you stop, then like the print stops in, like in the middle,
funny.
and that it goes into the book because that's the accidents.
True.
Yeah.
You keep those accidents. That's cool. Awesome.
And so what's great about this piece is that we absolutely don't do anything. We just set up the machines, and people do the work. We have no say or creative, except basically kind of animating, the workforce. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. It's like, I guess, one big zine kind of amalgamation. Yeah. Because with zines, generally the thing is you don't really do a lot of editing or reviewing or saying no about what gets published. So that's cool. Do you struggle with that? Do you ever have kind of authority or anything with that, with other works you publish?
If we're going down to editing, we don't know what editing is. We're really focused on empowering people with the means of doing something physical, making something.
So you just kind of support them, help them with the binding, maybe suggest like paper or binding techniques and that?
And generally kind of make them comfortable with like the technology and stuff like that. I think there's it's a bit of a pompous, term to bring to the conversation, but I guess the anarchist ethos is to teach each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
True, yes. Share the knowledge and just keep it accessible. Wow, that's really great. I wish there was, I don't know if there is a press, like Rebel Press or that in Auckland, or at least not as accessible, but maybe so. But do you think you'll ever bring the Zook factory to Tamaki Makaurau?
Yes, please invite us next year.
Yeah? Okay, cool. We'll be in touch. Cool. Well, that's great to hear. Thank you so much for that. I guess a clap for 5 Ever Books for now, just like, it's cool. So, next just gonna have a couple questions from Fernanda from Narval Collective. They're a collective from Chilean collective once again, mainly working in photography, and you go around the world sharing these publications. How do you plan it, print it? Where do you print it?
Actually, it's the first time we make that.
Okay, cool.
So we print in Chile.
So you print in Chile and then you bring them here?
A friend of mine sent me the materials.
Wow, cool.
It's an
Okay.
experiment.
Yes, a very big experiment. Has there ever been a shipment that's been lost so far, like in the mail? No? Cool.
No.
We can still trust the
No, it
sending.
was a friend of mine, so
Oh.
she traveled to Chile and come back with the material.
Okay,
so.
cool. So it was in your suitcase
Yeah.
or there. Awesome. That's really cool. So do you do, it's 3 of you, is that right?
Yes,
That work
right.
together? And how do you plan what photographs go into the zines in your publications?
And now we have video calls,
Video calls, cool.
and we work with a website called Figma.
Figma, yes.
Yeah, you know it?
Yeah, we love, everyone loves
Yeah.
Figma. Hell yeah.
It's really useful. So
Cool. So that's where you collaborate and then you lay out the images and then you print it in Chile
yes,
and then they come here.
yes.
Wow, that's so awesome. So I guess, what kind of photography do you work with? Is it film photography you do?
Ya, principalmente es fotografía analógica y procesos fotográficos como cianotipo o Van Dyke.
Sweet. So she said, yeah, just works mainly in film photography, but also cyanotype. If you're not familiar with that, it's a process you use that develops with the sun, and it's a blue kind of ink. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you also do kind of collaging with your photographs.
Tenemos un fanzine que hicimos con fotografías tomadas con el celular y es un poco como un collage.
Right, cool. So they have a zine that they primarily just use photos taken on a phone, and then they kind of made it into a collage. I don't think I have an image of it, but yeah.
I
So
don't think so.
that's all good. Yeah. So when you print a photo zine, what do you consider when planning to print? Do you choose paper specifically, or do you consider the binding as well?
Cada fanzine es un proyecto diferente, entonces tiene un concepto diferente.
Right.
Por ejemplo, este es un fanzine que hicimos para una Bienal de Artes en Chile.
Okay.
Y el tema era temblor, así que nuestras fotos fueron hechas con este contexto, por eso son collage,
Right, yeah.
destruidas, derretidas.
That makes sense. Cool. So she said each zine is pretty much its own project. So each zine takes into consideration the project and the subject matter, and then you choose the binding and the format from there. And the one that's shown here was for a biennial with
Bienal de Artes.
it was for a collective of artists in Chile, and the theme was around earthquakes. So you can kind of understand how the chopping and the cutting of the images translated into that. And of course, if you don't know Chile, there's been a lot of earthquakes there when Concepcion and all that. Yeah, it's a lot. Have you experienced temblores, earthquakes before?
In Chile,
Yeah.
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 Of course.
Yeah, there's
If
a lot.
you live there, you
do.
you live with earthquakes.
True. I guess it's funny, yeah, even in New Zealand, in Wellington too, it's generally happens as well. So where can we see your work? Is it just here today?
Yeah, at the moment is only here in the 1907 stone? No.
Oh,
No,
the stall over here, just in
yeah.
the lower ground? Yeah.
It's in front of the auditorium, so you
Yeah.
can get our fanzines there.
Cool. And you have prints as well of your photography work?
We have risographies and
Risographies, cool.
cyanotypes.
Awesome. That's exciting. Yeah, so if you are interested, go have a look over there for some more work, which would be cool. Yeah, thank you so much,
Thank you so
Fernando, for
much.
coming, even with the limited English and my limited Spanish. I mean, bicultural things, you know, that's how it is. So next is just with Geneva. Oh yeah, and clap. Thank you so much. Yeah. Cool. So Geneva, I guess we've got some questions for you. So you're a graphic designer, a pretty rigid commercial industry. I'm also a graphic designer by day. It's like, make it pop, make the logo bigger. Oh, God damn it. So your zines are pretty kind of experimental. Like, you don't really stick to, I guess, one specific layout. They're all kind of abstract and all that. How does your graphic design background influence your zine making?
I think, like, for this one especially, it only appears abstract. Like, there's definitely, like, grid design.
Yes, true.
So, like, I feel like the graphic design, like, its background helps with, like, the layout, and then thinking about how, like, text and image work together, or, like, I guess at the end, like, I guess graphic design only appears as, like, a rigid commercial industry, I guess, but at the end of the day, it's still just a form of visual art. Like, it's just, like painting or, like, sculpture. It's just, like, another form of, I guess, making.
True.
So you're still working with, like, color, you're still working with forms and shape and, like, materiality.
Yeah.
So...
Cool. Yeah, that's totally true. I mean, to me, I would study design too, so it's like, yeah, I totally know. You've definitely put in a lot of thought, grids, layouts. It's intentional, but to the naked eye, it can be a bit chaotic, I guess, at first. So I guess you work with a lot of found objects and then you print them into the zine. How do you bring all of these things together? Is there a planning process or do you just go on the whim?
There's a lot of planning. Like, I guess a lot of it, like thinking of how things flow, like the sequencing of
Yes, true.
the publication or like the zine, and how like one thing like flows into the next. Or,
Yeah.
like, think about maybe like chapters
True.
or like thinking how different sections link together, and that can be helped by like, I guess, like the flow of images or like even color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I guess like a movie, you want to make sure it is somewhat digestible, or I don't know. Is that a consideration? Do you want people to understand it?
Yeah, like the grid design helps keep it consistent, so that there is some sort of system helping the reader follow the book.
Yeah, that's true. Cool. So you use a lot of different kinds of paper. You've got colored paper. You've got just like different kinds of printing techniques. You also bind it differently. You have stitch binding and then stapling. How do those decisions in paper choice, binding, and even printing technique influence the work itself?
Well, I guess at the end of the day, like the zine is like a physical thing. Like after, I guess the viewer like sees the cover, they're gonna pick it up, and so it's like an object in their hands.
True.
And so like I don't know if like lots of people do this, but the first thing I do when I pick up a book is like see the flop. Like how
Yes.
it flops.
True.
And so like I'm like, that's like already like perfect. Like,
Yeah.
if the flop is good, then it's like good design. So yeah, so like I think like it is a physical object, so like the feel of the paper, you're like using I guess what it's like the classic is just like I normally use like Eco 100 or Munkin.
Yes.
And then like
Yeah,
sometimes like if you add like tracing paper to it.
True.
There was one project last year where it was like to do with cooking. So then I cut up like a flour bag and use that as the
Ooh.
cover. So like
Wow.
it adds like an extra element of like the feel of the publication.
True.
So yeah, so like you can also draw from the subject matter to
Yeah.
add like another element of like the material to it.
True. And where do you get all these kinds of different papers and things? You just kind of use what you have, what you see, like that flower bag?
Yeah, so I like to like incorporate found things, but also, I guess usually it's like, because a lot of this paper that you print on, it comes in bulk.
Yeah.
So you have to do like a group order and be like, who else needs paper?
True, yeah.
And then just do like a group order. Sometimes like the colored paper you can find quite easily, like at warehouse stationery, or like you can just make an order on Office Max.
Yeah. Even at $2 shops, there's like some interesting papers there, which is cool. Heaps of sparkly ones and all that. Yeah. Cool. So that's paper tips. And you do risography, laser printers, and inkjet too. Which is your favorite printer to use?
Probably the Riso, but it's really like what I use is really dependent on what's accessible to me.
Yes, true.
Like, because I was studying last year, so I had access to a photocopier and a risograph. Whereas like now I'm mostly just printing on my inkjet at home.
Yeah.
So it's really like it's accessibility, but
Yeah.
like the dream is to find a risograph.
Yes. Oh my God. I think we're all searching for risographs. I keep a watch list on Trade Me for it,
Same.
but also I don't have the money either. So one day we'll get there, which is cool. Sweet. Any other tips about printing or zine making you'd like to give from your space? I don't know. We can come back to it. Cool, all right. Thank you so much for Geneva for that. Cool. And then last person we've got is Adrienne. Just want to talk about your work and all you do. So yeah, you're studying at AUT, specializing in all kinds of printing techniques. So you're here as in a bindery. So you make up one part of the collective, but you're also joined by your partner M with them. What made you both decide to start this venture and like come together and make this a thing?
So we're both visual artists, and you'll see them out there manning the stall right now.
Cool.
And yeah, we ended up sort of following the same sort of path through uni. Em's more of a painter, and I leaned into printmaking a bit more. And then we discovered our bookbinding lab at AUT.
Yes, very good.
Which I will forever promote till my dying days. It is amazing. Seriously, like it taught me so much, just to even mess around with like print scraps and things, just throwing things together in a book. And we both realized that we had this passion for the same stuff, and we decided to start combining like my printmaking and Em's paintings and both of our love for bookbinding, and we started making things.
Yeah, hell yeah. That's so nice to hear. Like you kind of just both were into it. Did you, when you met each other, because you're a partner, are you engaged? I can't remember.
We're engaged.
It's a love affair. Woo! That's cool. So did you already like print and binding before you met, or did you share it together and then your passion grew?
We are like high school sweethearts.
Oh my God.
So
wow.
we met pretty early on in art class.
Hell yeah.
And so, in high school, you don't really have as many options.
True.
But I went out of my way to buy my own lino and teach myself to lino cut. And my painting teacher was not particularly impressed.
Oh, really? What?
NCA has a pretty strict, like, if you're taking a painting standard, you should be painting.
True, not lino cutting or
Yeah,
anything.
but I started it and I just couldn't stop. I really
cool.
loved printmaking. And then when I got to AUT
Yeah.
and got introduced to all these other forms of printmaking, I've just run with it. I'm a huge fan of all forms of etching.
Yes.
Gotten into screen printing.
Yeah.
Just a bit of everything. It's all so like versatile, and I feel like
It is.
yeah, Em and I have just found ways to make both of our disciplines collaborate and work together.
True.
Em's also doing like pop-up books now, which is quite cool.
Exciting.
It's sort of just little learning different mechanisms and things,
Yeah.
and turning paintings into like a more accessible, fun thing. That
True.
is, yeah, we just really want to make bookbinding and printmaking and paintings affordable
Yeah.
and accessible to everyone. I think that it's something that everyone should get a chance to enjoy.
Totally. It's really rewarding when you do make something and you're like, wow, I've made this. I went from it being a file or a paper, and then I got the supplies and the printer and all that, and you made it, and it's really rewarding. I guess that brings me to my next question. You've done screen printing, risography, dry point etching. I guess, what is your favorite technique to do? Do you have a preference for one or the other?
It's really hard to choose
True,
a
yeah.
favorite. I think that they all have very different like positive and negatives, especially I'm really lucky because I'm still in uni that I have access to print labs and all these different forms of making, while at home sort of I'm restricted to lino and like dry point, while soft ground etching requires like acids and screen printing you need emulsions and things like that. So for the accessibility, I find that dry point and lino are my favorites. But I really enjoy soft ground and riso for sort of the half tones and a lot of those gentle sort of soft looks that you can get from it. Yeah.
The fades of it and all that. Yeah, and actually, because Adrian is part of Auckland Zinefest organising committee, and he's printed all his tote bags with him and his partner Em, and the programs were risograph printed by him too. So yeah, I guess a clap for that, for Adrian to do that. Yeah, cool. And then, last thing, I just want to touch on your work that you do. You center it around a lot of queer and trans themes. And I thought, is in a bind a pun at all? Or am I just thinking into it?
Indeed, yes.
It is? Cool.
Yeah, so when we started like making, we felt that there was certain holes in representation and that sort of stuff, especially from a queer experience and trans experience background. And so we called ourselves In a Bind, which is obviously book binding, but we're both trans masc, so we are regularly binding. So definitely just a fun little, if you know, you know.
Yes, true. That's so awesome. And I really love what you said earlier about how the printing process kind of makes you feel comfortable in your body, because you have to kind of move, use it in different ways. That's really awesome. Do you feel like since you started this venture, you've become more comfortable in your own body?
Yeah, definitely. When we first were together, I still had an old name, and I was still a pretty little girl. And then, throughout sort of our relationship, I've also been transitioning, and you can see that sort of evolution through the work that we've been making, and sort of leaning into more of like the fuck the system, and stuff like that. So I think that it's sort of given me a voice through print and zine making. Yeah.
That's awesome. Great. And of course, you're still stalling today, which is cool. So they're just outside there in a bindery. You can find them over there. And final clap for In a Bind and Adrian. Cool. So just to sum it up, all our learnings from today, I guess just want to have a final word with everyone. Any suggestions for how people can start exploring printing techniques for zine making? Especially when a lot of the machines are inaccessible. Don't know if we want to start with Ishil?
Sure, yeah. There are so many easy ways to print potato prints. Just try with. I think we'll have ideas, so I'm just gonna leave you some.
Yeah.
I think recently what I learned is that lino cuts and just get a piece of lino from the skip, run your kitchen knives on it, and then rub. Put some ink, place your piece on paper, and rub a spoon on it. It can be that simple. Yeah. So yeah, get in there.
Cool. Yeah. I never thought about just using actual lino. Like I've got lino in my garage, like for my bathroom floor. I'll use that. That's cool. Yeah. And what about you, Sasha? Any tips?
I guess I would say, low key, often, probably amongst zine makers, there's often not a lot of capital. And so if you've got access to a printer, and it might be through uni, or that's probably how most zine makers probably started, was printing stuff on at the different places. It's it's dubious, but it's also great. So I think look out for those resources that are around and utilize them, because black and white printing is pretty cheap, and
that's true. Yeah.
But also just making zines, I think it's amazing because it's so accessible. You literally just need some sort of paper that you can fold into some sort of shape, and then you put some sort of stuff on it, and it's a zine, and that's awesome. So I always just try and share that kind of part of zine making, that DIY.
It doesn't have to be a fully perfect bound hardcover book. No,
totally. It could just be an
paper.
A4 cut and into an 8-pager little cute zine,
Sure,
and that counts too.
Cool. What about you, Adrian?
Yeah, in the same vein, erasers. Just grab your erasers and use various objects to start printing with. You can use just what's in your pencil case, like a compass, and your eraser will give you
you can
at least a pretty basic
Yeah.
look. Use ink pads to stamp, or you can even crack open a ballpoint pen.
As
long as you have some newspaper down. And just give it a go. And I feel like there's a lot of almost gatekeeping in a lot of the printmaking communities. It's a very sort of fine art, put your nose up at it type thing. But there are so many printmakers online who want to make things accessible. And I'm sure that anyone here would be keen for you to just flick them a message, and we'll talk you through whatever you're trying to do, and even try collaborate, get involved. We're all really keen on it, and we want everyone to share in this passion.
It is a big collaborative process. Yeah, that's cool. And what about you, Geneva?
I think everyone probably has access to something to print with or print on, and I think also it's also don't be scared to start. Everyone might have access to a home printer or know someone who has a home printer, but it's for me the barrier was having the confidence to start.
Right. The confidence. Yeah. Okay. I guess as long as it's on, just get it on paper, right, and then go from there. Cool. Awesome. And Fernanda, any tips from you in Spanish or English is good?
I think my advice is just do it. If you have an idea, you do it, because at the end it's really easy. You only need paper and print, and even you can go to the library. So I think just do it.
Yeah, sure. Library has cheap black and white printing. You can bring color with your choice of paper and binding. And also my tip is the School of YouTube, for sure, is really good. But it's good to know that there are people that are keen to collaborate like you folks. So that's really cool. And last question, just to really kind of get that value into this. Why is putting creative work into a publication important for makers? What do you get out of it? I guess,
I can start. I guess I really enjoy the process, for myself and for others, of the kind of grammatical moment that it kind of gives. You know, it's like a pause or a full stop, or kind of like a period of work that you can kind of put all into something, and then you can kind of maybe move on to something else, and the work has a home.
Yeah.
Even if it's just on your bookshelf and 9 other friends who have the zine, you know, that's sometimes really meaningful.
Yeah.
But also I think, yeah, just doing it, you know. I was just thinking as I was listening to everyone talking about the last question, that zines, you know, have such a punk history and such a DIY ethos, and so many creative communities, whether they be literary or fine art, are so exclusionary, and there's so many pipelines / you know, hard to access spaces. But I think the thing that's most beautiful about zines and what they offer is just that really you can just do it, you know, and you can just create that for yourself.
True.
Yeah.
I think real quick, what I love about editioning, so, you know, making copies of one's work into a publication, is that I can gift it to my friend and keep the art for me at the same time.
True. Yes.
And that's great.
True. Not giving the original, it's a copy. And then you're like, this is 1 out of 20. You are my favorite person. Cool. That's awesome.
I think in that vein as well is the cost. I don't think you'll find many zines more than, you know, $5, maybe $10 max. A lot of people they want you to have the art. They want you to take it away with you. And so we'll make it as accessible as we can. And I think that's really valuable. And I think the sort of physicality of being able to hold someone else's like perspective in your hands. Because there are people from all walks of life who do zining, and it's all got, just so much value in it just to glance into what people have put the time into making and what they care about
Totally.
through a publication.
You get a peek into their mind. It's really awesome. It can be eye-opening, really. Yeah.
I think it's also like a great way to like archive your work.
True, yes.
Like if you're, I guess, like an artist, like if you have paintings and things, you can like turn it into, like, because it'll be like a one-off. But if you turn it into a zine, you can share it with everyone as well.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a great way to archive your work.
True, like documenting what you've just done. And also then you don't have to keep the huge paintings or something. You just have it already there, which is cool. And what about you, Fernanda?
Yo creo que es importante para compartir el trabajo. Y sobre todo se crean estos espacios como Zinefest. Y puedes compartir y conocer gente. Y para nosotros también es un motor que es como una excusa para crear un nuevo proyecto.
That's true. She says it's important to just make and share it and bring spaces together like Zinefest where you can share it. And also it creates an excuse to just make things, which is very true. A lot of people have said that Zinefest is like their deadline almost. It's like, cool, it's in August. I have 2 months to make something and then it's done and you can continue on the next creation. And it's really awesome. Cool. Thanks so much for all that. That's pretty much it. Thank you so much for being here and sitting through with us. Hope you get to enjoy the rest of Zinefest. There is about 2 hours left. You can go check out Narval Collective and In a Bindery down here. And for Geneva and 5 Ever Books, you don't have a stall today, no. But you can find them on Instagram or online and see them around. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.